All right. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to episode 3 of DoublePEEK by UMB. My name is Raiden, and today I'm joined by Addicted Esports' Turbos Skeron, one of the most exciting up-and-coming players in the top scene of Swiss Counter-Strike. We'll talk about his start in Counter-Strike, how he got into the Swiss scene, his first teams, how he's doing in the Peak League, which has already started, by the way, for those that don't know. And I'm really excited to get started. Turbos Skeron, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Awesome. That's great. So, as always, if you guys have been watching the last couple of weeks, we always start with an icebreaker here in this show just to try and get to know the player, maybe just to get an insight into what they think about Counter Strike. So, as Turbos is actually the in game leader, IGL of his team, I'm going to ask him to rank the three, probably the most well known IGLs that we have ever had in Counter Strike. I'm going to ask him to rank. But the way that I'm going to ask you to rank is which one would you like to play under? So not who's the best,
Okay.
not who's going to win you the trophies. Who would you like to play under and learn the most from? So I'll ask you to rank Carrigan, Glaive, and Fallen. Go for it.
Okay. I think for me personally, like third space is obvious. It's got to be Fallen. Like the success that Glaive and Kerrigan have had is just too high for like Fallen to be in consideration. Even with like the more close role overlap with me, right? Like since I'm upping as well, I'd still put Fallen as like a clear third. Then between Kerrigan and Glaive, I think the problem is if I were Danish, I would say Glaive.
Okay.
Because
Yeah,
I
makes
think
sense.
in a like national team, well now he's in somewhat of an international team, I guess, but he hasn't proven himself there yet. So I think as an international or as a non-Danish speaking, I'd put Kerrigan as one, just for the whole experience he has with international rosters and international players. That there's been so many great players under him that he has made shining, right? Like stars out of even.
Sure.
Yeah, and then Glaive second, just for the success he had. There must be a lot that he can teach, right?
Yep.
And Fallen as a third, just because he just doesn't have that amount of success that he had.
I mean, listen, he
In
does
my
have two
opinion.
majors, but I think
Yeah.
I thought you actually would go for Fallen just because you're also an Alper and an IGL. So I thought that would more be your the way that you would go. But that's interesting that you put him number 3. So I think you're going to make the Brazilian fans a little mad about that. All right. Okay, that's a good start. So let's begin with. Let's not talk about other people's Counter Strike. Let's talk about your Counter Strike, and just talk to me about how you started with the game. Really, in the beginning, where everybody was a noob, you didn't have any idea about any top pro scene or top scene or teams. Just tell me how you got started with the game in the first place.
I think I started in like 2016 or so. Well, actually, I probably bought the game before that, but I just barely played. Then 2016 in my school, I had some friends I played with somewhat regularly, not too regularly, but like every other weekend or so, a few games. And then I don't know why or how, but like in 2017, it just started going, and I started to like play a lot more. I started to look for people to play in a team with, to maybe play more regularly with than just like once every 2 weeks or so. And from that onward, I kind of got into the whole Swiss kind of thing. Then obviously, I think it was 2017 where where Pre-Fire, that's what it's called.
Yes.
Pre-Fire started. With that, like once I heard from that, I instantly like knew I wanted to play in a team there, and I wanted to try and see what I can do in there, right? Like see how
Sure.
many people I can play with and how good I can get.
Okay. Did you start off with friends, or how did that start off with your first couple of teams in Pre-Fire in 2017?
My first team was with people I met online.
Okay.
I think the Gamer Scout and Swiss SMP were the two things I looked for players for. And there I found a group of friends that I've played with that I still sometimes nowadays play regularly with.
Okay, that's cool.
Funnily enough, they were also the first Bubbles team.
Oh, okay. Tell
'Cause,
me about who that was. Maybe some of the viewers will still remember.
probably not, because they weren't really well known. They just like knew the founder of Bubbles
Ah, okay.
as a friend, and that's how they got him into it.
Okay.
Um, yeah, but from the names, I don't think like I can. One was called Selene or Young Tony.
Okay.
Another was called Divide. I
All
don't
right.
have the in-game names
Ah,
all
yeah,
on my
sure.
head. I've
That's
like
all good.
the
No, no,
real
it's
life
all.
names. So,
I just thought
but
maybe because Babos is obviously kind of a well-known name, so I thought maybe one or two names would be
yeah,
remembered till now.
that's what you think. But like most people don't even know that this team even existed. To be
Okay.
honest,
Yeah.
but it's just a funny thing
Sure. Of
to
course.
tell, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's like the first team I started with.
Mhm.
Back then under the name of Helvetic Knights.
Yeah.
Might have, I don't know, somebody might have heard of that. I think we played first season of Pre-Fire definitely, and after that almost every season
Yeah.
till it was renamed to whatever.
Yeah. It was SESL at that point, I think, in 2018, and then of course there were many iterations after.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, that's great. So did you already? What was your role back then? Like, did you already know kind of that you're gonna pick up this op? Just talk to me about what roles that you were playing at the beginning of your career.
I did start as an opera,
Okay.
and as we didn't really have anybody else that like felt he wanted to do it, I also started as an IHL.
Okay.
Back then, obviously, like way less input or just
Of
more of
course.
just playing and way less of calling back then.
Yeah.
And but from then on, I pretty much in every team I was playing, I was the IHL. I
Okay.
think sometimes there was a period I wasn't the upper, but the IHL I was pretty much throughout every team.
Okay, great. So yeah, let's talk about the next few iterations. So I mean, if somebody knows, like I started in 2018, so I think 2018, 2019, I think we were already sort of familiar with each other over the online years. I think, uh, but I think the way that I remember you from is one of the some of the Zug Esports lineups. So talk to me about those times. So like maybe a couple of years later on, like where you're. I mean, I assume in 2017 you were not quite at the highest level, but in 2019 it was going a little bit better. Just talk to me about how serious you were getting, how often you were playing. Just like what was Counter Strike to you in those times?
Um, Zug was actually the first station after I came back from military.
Okay.
So I had that break in between, like the old teams, and then coming into Zug Esports, which took me with quite open arms for someone that at that point had like now a 1 year break or so. There I was trying. I think I was not that much playing, but I was trying to see mostly what are the pros doing, how much can I like get back into it, right? Since
Yeah.
I had that whole year of a break, I was more of watching what are other people doing and less of focusing on myself. And from then on onward, it only like I only got more motivated to play more and more. And I think there was a short period after Souk where we were Arctic. I don't know if you remember
Yeah.
that.
Yes.
And then right after Arctic, I went and said, okay, I haven't invested enough yet,
Hmm.
more in those teams, so I need to do more. And since then, I've been trying to do as much as I can, really. Um, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think to contextualize, I think you're always sort of in this upper level of open div and like sort of flirting with these intermediate divisions in those years. So for those that don't remember, we used to have multiple divisions in those SESL days. There used to be 3 or even 4 divisions, and I think it's safe to say you're probably in the third division or just like open, like flirting between these 2 divisions, right?
Yeah. There was just my last team before I went to military.
Mm-hmm.
That was Erased X. There we just played one season of intermediate, I think it was called, the third
Yeah.
division then. And then I went into military and then came back with Zug, where we, after 2 seasons or so, got into the intermediate division as well.
Yeah.
And then I just played around that level mostly, yeah.
Okay. Did you ever flirt with 99 Damage or any of the other leagues back in those days, or were you only active in the Swiss scene?
I have played 99 Damage, but I don't remember most of it,
Okay,
to be honest.
sure.
I remember with Zug, we I think we qualified for Div 5, but that was a long time ago. And then
Okay.
we just played it like beside, just not that focused on it. And just, I think we got to Div 4, but not much more.
Okay. So just, I mean, maybe we fast forward a little bit and just contrast me sort of the player that you used to be, not even the demos that you were watching or IGL. Just talking about how different of a player you've become, like the player that you used to be. Were you more of an aggressive opper? Were you more, I'll just hold this angle, you guys do your thing, or are you the one who's searching for picks, who's going for these riskier plays?
I kind of find myself hard to classify in that sense.
Okay.
There's maps I prefer going really aggressive,
Yeah.
that I really want to try and search for those picks, and there's also other maps where I go as far as barely AWPing even sometimes,
Okay.
just because I find it not that impactful or not that useful. I try to get picks if possible, whenever. I also like to play aggressive, but that does not always work with the op, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes you're just in a situation where you have to just go for one
Sure.
shot
Of
and fall
course.
back. Um, Whenever I was rifling, I was always very aggressive.
Okay.
I always try to go for every hole there was in the defense, or wherever I see I could like push in, I would take that space.
Sure. So, and how did the IGLing impact your opping? Because of course, for those that are maybe not so familiar, it's mostly quite well known in Counter Strike that IGLing or in-game leading mostly really deteriorates your personal performance. It's more of a hamper than really anything else. So, talk to me about how you felt with the IGL role. Did you at any point did you believe if I was not IGLing, I would be a much better player, or did you feel like both of them are always together for you?
I would say that I definitely could frag better.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call it a better player though, right?
Okay.
Because in my opinion, those are two different things.
Sure.
So it's definitely impactful that sometimes I have caught myself pressing tab, looking at the map, and then not being ready for the opponent to peek me.
Yeah.
Um, but what I've also found out is the more you're used to playing with your team,
Hmm.
the less it happens. So um, the more chemistry there is in your team, the less I have to look at the map, right? Because I know more where they are, I know what they're doing, the comms are flowing better, and with that, it also improves my rating or my playing.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about these few years. I guess we could label them COVID years. I mean, pre-COVID, we talked a little bit about your beginning. So let's talk about the COVID years. Did you ever feel like you could even flirt with going, like towards pro or sort of semi-pro, or was that ever a thought in your head?
Um, it's always my goal. It
Okay.
was my goal since pretty much I came back from military. I've wanted to go pro, and I still believe I can. I still also give my best to get there.
Okay, yeah, I mean that's great to hear because I think mostly in Switzerland, we have obviously we're kind of privileged with the kind of leagues that we have had, where it's kind of blurring the line. But from what I have of course seen, like the grind is pretty real for you. And talking about the grind, let's fast forward a few more years and talk about sort of your current team, which is probably maybe one of the most exciting projects that we have as far as the Swiss core is concerned. Just talk to me how you started with this addicted lineup, with these two couple of non-Swiss players that you play with, and just tell me how it started, and just run me through the timeline.
The team mostly started after the Arctic team was dissolved, and with that, I found myself to be looking for a new team. And what I found out quite quickly was in Switzerland, there is no one that wants to invest as much time as I want to invest, or yeah, there's no one with the goal of going pro, right? Pretty
Yeah.
much. So I went to ESEA and searched for players there. And my goal was first of all to not even play with any Swiss players.
Hmm.
So we had in the first iteration of the team there was no Swiss players except for me. But I think 2 days before the season start deadline, we had two people just randomly say, "Oh no, we don't want to play with you."
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
That's
and
that's very sad.
then I quickly had to find two new players. That's when Jacob came in,
Yeah.
Ruvodes,
Hmm.
um, and I don't remember the other player. I think the other player was not. No, the other player was not Swiss. The other player was from England, and then we pretty much played with just me and Jacob as Swiss players. in the first iteration of the team. And in the, I think, second season we played, I have seen an ESA team search or player search from Jan or Globy,
Yeah.
who's now in our team. Back then he was, I think, Faceit level 7 or something.
Okay.
And I pretty much told him, you're not in the level that we are currently looking for, but I would really like to have you as a sixth player, as a substitute, and you can come watch or like be a spectator or coach, whatever, in our pracs. I want you to learn as much as you can and try and improve and see if you can fit into our team after a few seasons, right?
Yeah.
And a few seasons after that, like I think 2 or 3 seasons after that, we had to remove a player because he just didn't want to play anymore. So we turned to Jan and we took him into the team. He had improved greatly since then, and from that point onward, we were 3 Swiss players, and that core has stayed since then. That was roughly a year ago. No, roughly 2 years ago, I think.
I think it must have been
The
longer.
core.
Yeah.
And yeah, since then we've been playing as that team. Mostly ESCA. Just lately we've also played Fragster and obviously Peak.
Okay, so actually, so just to bring it back a little bit, you also have played with Ruvodes before, right? In the years gone past.
Yes.
So talk to me about this player. What are his strengths? What do you see in him as a player? What does he do well in your team?
He used to be our support player. Pretty much anybody that, or like someone that just does his best to throw whatever util is needed, right? Or plays every position that is maybe not the best and that he has to play, or that someone has to play, and he just filled it. The first time, like why I picked him at the start was pretty much just because I needed someone, to be honest.
Okay.
And with 2 days till the deadline, there wasn't that much I could.
Okay.
That many people I could ask.
Does he know this story? Does he know that that's the truth?
Yeah, he does.
Okay, good. At least.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And what about Globy? So if I remember correctly, he's on the younger side, right? I don't think he's a veteran of the scene or anything like that.
Yeah, I don't think
Okay.
he has ever played in a Swiss team before that either. He
Okay.
used to play 99 Damage
Yep.
with some German friends of his, but not much either before we picked him up as a sixth player.
Okay.
Yeah, there isn't that much to tell them because he hasn't played that much.
Okay.
Pretty much only played with us, but he's improving greatly since the first time. Yeah, as I've said, he was faced level 6 or whatever, and after almost just a year, he was up to faced level 10. He was improving pretty much in every aspect of the game.
Yep.
And now if you would probably put him next to him how we first met him, it'd be probably not recognizable that it's the same player.
Okay. Yeah, that's quite interesting. Okay, and before we talk about your players that are not Swiss, we're going to just stay on this Swiss side of things. Let me just ask you about LAN parties, because we obviously, I think the first time we met was probably at a LAN. You've been to all of the great hits of Switzerland as far as LANs are concerned. So just tell me about your first LAN, your best experiences in Switzerland. We are obviously quite sort of proud about our LAN culture. So just talk to me about that, and you obviously have experience with going to many of them.
Yeah, I think my first LAN was Switzerland 2017.
Okay,
I think
so a long time ago. Huh?
Yeah, but yeah, there's so many LANs I've been to. It's hard to say which one was the best.
Okay.
I have fond memories of the first one because I remember we played Schadehalt. I think they're
Okay.
called, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And I remember Patrick was the German player there, right? Who was playing with them. I think it was him that said like, "Oh, guys, we gotta focus. These guys aren't that bad."
Okay.
So yeah, I have kind of fun memories of that.
Okay.
Yes, so it's either that or the event in Arbonne. I don't remember which year, 2021, I think.
Okay.
Where I played with Chriki, Dark.
Oh wow. Okay.
Who are the other two?
Well.
Slaptics, and I don't remember the fifth player. I don't know if you do
Okay.
remember or not,
No, actually,
but
I'm also missing.
because that was the first time I got top 3, right?
Ah, okay,
Because
all
then
right.
we actually got third place.
Okay. Yeah, and fine for those that don't know, those players that you just mentioned are actually active in the peak league, so they're still around in the teams.
Yes.
But okay, so let me just ask you. It's actually this was an icebreaker question a couple of episodes ago. And let me just ask you, like, if you had to only go to one single LAN, you have to ignore all other Swiss LANs, do one for the rest of your life. Which one would you pick?
That's a really hard question for me to answer, to be honest. I
Okay.
think that's going to come out of left field for you because I
Okay.
haven't even been to that LAN and I don't know if you've been. But if there's going to be, or if there would be more Supreme Masters, I would choose
Well,
that one because
okay.
I would really love to go to one of those.
Okay, fair enough. No, I've never been, but yeah, of course. So if somebody's not familiar, Supreme Masters is more of an international land than all of the other lands in Switzerland. Also, the prize pool tends to be bigger, but also according to that, the competition is also significantly higher.
Yeah.
But yeah, so personally, I have no experience with that. But if we okay, let's say we put Supreme Masters aside, out of the sort of endemic Swiss competition, Swiss lands, which one would you pick?
It would be between Lock and Load or Event
Okay,
Arbon, I think, because
all
those
right.
two I've had the best social experiences as well.
Okay, yeah, of course. Yeah, I think I mean many people. I think the answer is the same because event has this amazing location. It's in
Yeah.
the summer, so it's you can hang out outside till like 1 a.m., 2 a.m. no problem. And Lock and Load is just a great atmosphere. I mean, we were there just a couple of months back. All right, so let's move on to your final two players in your lineup right now, which are of course Madden and New Hope. Just talk to me about these guys. If you look at their elo, then you know it's very clear that these guys are they know what they're doing in this game. So just tell me about their strengths, how you got them into your team, how you guys have been just building this pretty promising project.
Yeah. Lucas or New Hope was actually in the first core of this team.
Okay.
So I same as with Jan, I saw his advert on ESEA that he's looking for a team. I thought sure he was interested. He wanted to invest a lot of time into it. So I thought with a common goal we could improve a lot together and try and go for what we're going for now with going pro together, right?
Yep.
And yeah, he is very very calm. I would say that's the best way to describe him.
Okay.
It's both in his playstyle and in his the way he is.
Yeah.
He also improves quite quickly since
Hmm.
he puts a lot of time into it.
Okay.
Um, Especially the DM. I think he does like at least an hour or two of DM every day.
Oh wow.
He
Okay.
watches multiple demos a day. Yeah, the time input of him is crazy.
Yeah.
And then Madden we found later on. I think that was 1.5 years ago or so
Hmm.
when we put him into our team. Back then he was I think 16. Now
Okay.
he's 18. He's still very young.
Yeah.
He used to be quite a passive player, almost Blame F-esque maybe.
Oh, okay.
Now he's gotten kind of out of it, trying to get more impact. Yeah, and that's also I think when he's best, when he can get the most impact. He has such a great aim,
Yeah.
and yeah,
Yeah. I think I mean from what I've seen, I think just mechanically they're both like very
yes.
very gifted. So I think those skills definitely have to be put to use. But just tell me where does Madden come from? So because he's already been so for somebody who's maybe been to a LAN, he has been to a couple of LANs already. But of course he's not from Switzerland. So just tell me how it's been getting him into the scene. How is he like open to coming to these Swiss LANs? So just talk to me about that.
Originally he's from America, from the
Yep.
US, but he currently lives with his family in Marseille.
Okay.
So it's not too far from Switzerland. Um, but yeah, he should really just as New Hope, both of them really want to improve as much as possible, and with that goes they want to get as much experience as possible, right? And I think such lands as we have in Switzerland, which is also why we're so proud of it, they don't really exist that many in other countries
Yes.
necessarily. That's also why they saw a great chance of coming here, playing LANs, getting the experience, and yeah, I think they greatly improved from that as well,
Mhm.
getting that LAN experience.
Yeah, talking about the LAN experience, we were just talking about that we were both at Lock and Load. So you guys made the finals at this year's Lock and Load, which was back in February, I guess. Just tell me how that was. You were there with your full lineup, five of you guys, and you, I mean, obviously had a pretty good result. Just tell me how the vibe was, how close you got to winning. Talk to me about this Lock and Load.
We're all actually quite disappointed that we didn't win it, to be honest.
Yeah.
We all went in with the goal of trying to win that tournament, and we definitely had the chance to it.
Hmm.
We also talked about it afterwards that we need to improve on specific stuff. It was very more minor details that needs to improve, and with that we could have easily won that in our
Okay.
opinions.
Okay. All right. So let's just switch to, obviously you're playing in Swiss teams, and I assume you're speaking in Swiss German, right? During those years back in the day.
Yes.
Okay, and how was the switch to English? How was the switch to in-game leading in English? Was that a challenge for you or?
It was all right. I don't think it was that hard of a challenge. At the start, I stumbled on some words sometimes,
Yeah.
but it worked quite well.
Okay.
Yeah, there's also a little fun fact there. When I was searching for teams, I also searched for just in case French teams.
Okay. You
So
speak
I was
French?
actually yeah, I speak
Oh,
French.
okay. Wow. Okay,
So,
that's a fact
so
that
I
I
was
didn't know.
also trialing with some French teams at that point,
All
but not
right.
as an IGL
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Well, that makes sense, I guess.
because that would have been too
Okay.
complicated for me.
Yeah. Sure. Okay. Actually, I did not know that you also spoke French. So you could have a hand in all parts of Switzerland with German, French, and English.
Somewhat, yeah.
Yeah. All right, that's great. So obviously now we come to the present in this peak league. So obviously we've talked about this before. It's more of an experiment. There have not been these leagues in or this online league format in Switzerland for a few years now. And just tell me what your expectation is of this league, what you guys are aiming for. You guys are obviously playing for Addicted Esports now, so you can also go into that. And yeah, just your thoughts on this peak league here in 2024.
Yeah, it's not our main focus currently. Our main focus was and will always be the ESEA League.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, we hope to at least get playoffs out
Yeah.
of the Peak League. That would be at least our goal, and from then on, I think we'll just see how far we can go.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's great. So, how are you doing in the ESEA League for those that are interested? So, like, what was your last? What division were you placed in last time?
We were playing Open last season.
Mm-hmm.
We went 11-3, I think.
Okay. Well,
In
not
the
bad.
regular season, then we went into the playoffs, and we were actually one best of three away from qualifying for ESEA main.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So we just barely didn't get in. So now next season we're going to play ECA intermediate.
Okay. All right. That's not so bad then. All right. So before we're getting to the end of this, so I just want to say you were saying that you were kind of disappointed in this lock and load loss. Do you think so? What does that come down to? Do you think it's more sort of in game, or do you think there are still some, like this some sort of mental barrier that you guys are struggling with, that where you're struggling to get it over the line, or do you think it's more really in game related?
I think it's really in-game related.
Okay.
And it's also something I think most international teams have, that just sometimes the chemistry isn't just there.
Hmm.
Like sometimes you have to come very quickly, right? And it's not everybody's mother tongue, so sometimes stuff gets lost. I
Sure.
think that's something we have to improve on, and if we get that done, I think we can be one of the best, or if not the best, Swiss team.
All right. Yeah. I mean, I think you guys are well on your way. I think that lock and load result, even though you were obviously disappointed, I think that shows that this project is heading in the correct direction. And these things always take a bit of time. But yeah, I think I've hit on most of my points. If you want to talk about Addicted and how that's gone for you, you're welcome to go for it.
Yeah, Addicted actually came through a connection from Jacob.
Okay.
So the owner Pat, I don't know if you know him. He played for Zurich a while ago, and
Okay.
I don't remember for some other teams as well. Um, and he hit Jacob up, told him, "Hey, I'm making an organization. Would you guys be interested in playing for my organization?" And yeah, we saw it as a great opportunity,
Of course. Yeah.
and I hope we're doing a great job at representing the organization.
All right. Okay. So before we end this interview, I think one of the more for somebody that's seen Turbos at LAN, you have one of the more sort of interesting setups. I think I can say. So just talk to me about how your LAN setup, or like I mean your in a home setup also. But like, what do you think is special about the way that you play? So tell me about your sensitivity, about your distance to your screen, and yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I play with high sensitivity,
Hmm.
so I play on 800 DPI 4.48 in game sensitivity.
Oh
That's
wow.
roughly, I think, 3.5 thousand eDPI,
Yeah.
I think. I don't know why I got there. I just started like that and I just never changed it.
Okay.
And it seems to work, so I just stick with it because I don't like to relearn it, you know.
Sure. Yeah.
And what the monitor is really just I like to have my space between me and the
Okay.
monitor. I also really like to sit as close to the table as possible.
Okay.
So I pretty much sit with my belly against the table
Hmm.
and mostly also slightly leaned back.
Okay. But
which
but
which
but what the interesting part is that you play on a very small or like a medium sized mouse pad, because for somebody that doesn't know, like mostly CS players have these huge mouse pads, but your
yeah.
mouse pad is quite small, and also your monitor is really sort of on the other end of the table while you're sitting quite close. So it's quite a special
Yeah.
setup actually.
I don't know why it established as that.
Okay.
But it just I don't know. I like it.
Okay,
That's all I
sure,
can
of
just
course. No, no.
that's
I
all
mean,
I can
it's
say really.
of course not a criticism, but for somebody who's maybe watching this, who will go to an event or a Switzerland, then you'll always know that it's
Yeah.
Turbos is set up by just the distances,
It's
and
also funny that whenever someone sits next to me and
yeah,
I get flashed, they know
of
because they
course,
can
yes,
see my
because
monitor.
yes, of course, yeah. Yeah, okay. That's not a great thing in 10 mans. If you play 10 mans with you and they're in
Yeah.
the other team, that's not going to work out. All right, and also as a side note, you also see his the ears that he has on right now. You can also see that on LAN, which is another one of his just trademark things about him on LAN. All right, Turbos, thank you so much for the interview. That's been great. If you have any shout outs, anybody you want to thank, the stage is yours.
Yeah. I would like to thank my teammates obviously for playing with me, for putting that much time in and really trying to achieve this goal together. Also, I would like to thank Pat. I've said it before, the owner of Addicted Esports, for giving us this opportunity, and pretty much everybody that supports us, if there is someone.
Of course. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you'll grab yourself a couple of fans after this. So, yeah, I mean,
So,
definitely one of the more promising projects as far as Swiss Score is concerned, and I'm very excited to see you guys progress further. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that has been it for episode 3. I'll be back for episode 4 and many more episodes. As I already said, Peak League has already started. Each Sunday, you can catch the stream of one interesting game of the week on Andy's on the underscore ch stream. So please go and check that out, and I hope to catch you next time. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.